everyone. Welcome back to Meet the Pros. We are back after the holiday break. Thanks so much for joining in on our special time at 6 p.m. And hopefully everyone has a glass of wine or a glass of beer, or it's in the middle of the day for you and you're wishing that you could have that, but we're happy that you're here. We have a special guest here with us today. John is coming in all the way from West Virginia, and he is the host of two sports-themed Facebook Live shows, so one on wrestling and one on football. He's also a musician and a comedian and has been an Ecamm Live user for a while, so we're really excited to have you here, John. Welcome.
Hey, how you doing? I did not know that Santa Claus was going to bring you John Covey Cole for Christmas. It's great to be here.
We love that you're our first one back after our holiday break. We're like, we'll take a break for the holidays. We'll come back with a special guest. So it's so exciting to have you here. We're really excited because your show is just, you guys use all of the different things. You got the backgrounds, you got cool overlays you're putting on, you have people phoning in. I'm excited to ask you all the questions about how you pull it off.
There is a lot going on for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the questions that people always have when they first sign up for Ecamm Live and are first testing out their live stream and thinking through what they're going to do is like, how do people do that? How do they do? So it's always great during Meet the Pros to get to see all different kinds of live stream videos. And I don't think we've had Al Andrew on a couple months ago who does sports. He does roller hockey, but you are our first one with two different sports shows, and you guys have like a full, it almost feels like a TV studio. So I'm excited to hear how you got started. So I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about how you ended up with two shows, how you got into live streaming. Let us know a bit about your background.
Well, I'll start back when I was a kid. When I was a kid, my dad was a musician, or not a musician, rather, I'm sorry. He was a radio DJ.
Awesome.
And he would always go and do the radio thing. So I was brought up with old school music. Thank you, Pops. Appreciate it.
Love it.
But that's where my love for music started. And Dad told me when I was young, don't go to the music or to the radio business because there's no money in it unless you're making sales and doing all this and that. And I was like, well, I don't want to do that. Excuse me. So fast forward a little bit, I ended up learning how to play the guitar, and I've been doing that for years and years. I've been gigging, playing out for a long time, having a couple different bands that I do here. I actually had a talk show back before I found Ecamm.
Awesome.
that I would record and then post-edit and then put out for musicians here in West Virginia.
Wow.
It was called Acoustic Sessions with JCC. You can actually find that on YouTube if you guys
Awesome.
want to check that out.
Definitely.
But that was my first talk show I did. I was like, give these musicians an opportunity to, get their stuff heard out there. I would always make sure that they had to do at least one original because, that's what I wanted to do was sell them, not sell somebody else.
Definitely.
But that went well, and I was like, this is fun, but I would like to do something else. So that's when I started doing the Mountaineer Ramble, which is on Facebook. It's WVU football. We don't have a pro team here, so college football is the next best thing.
Definitely.
So that's what I decided to pursue. And at the time, I was the only one that had any kind of online web shows, what I call it, of a football talk show here in West Virginia.
Yeah.
Now there's like three or four other ones, and I'm like, okay.
You started a trend.
Yeah. What's that they say? Imitation is the biggest form of flattery.
Definitely.
Rock on, boys. That's all I'm saying. But anyway, I would do the same thing with that, and I would record it, post-edit, edit it, plug in graphics, and it was a real tedious task, fine-tuning everything, going in, putting this graphic up.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I'd like to do this live if I could. So then I found OBS.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to be the one that throws OBS under the bus because they're great for what they can do.
Yeah, definitely.
And when I found them, I was like, this is amazing. And I started there, and I would do stuff, but I found that it was not as fluent as I would like it to be. It wasn't as user-friendly. I mean, I could figure out what I was doing, but sometimes it took me a couple steps. That's one of my favorite things about Ecamm Live is the support group. Go to the Facebook group, ask a question. Within the next 20, 30 minutes, somebody's on there like, hey, try this out. This might work. And I'm like, yeah, that works. Thanks.
Yeah, I love I would think my favorite thing about that community is that by the time that I log in the morning to see if there's any questions to answer, or if I can buy, 4 or 5 other people from the community have already like answered all the questions, like traded contact information back and forth, shared each other's live video. Like, it's amazing how supportive the community is for being able to get your questions answered or see ideas. It never ceases to amaze me. You guys are awesome. So huge shout out to the community.
I'm not very helpful because I'm still learning. Every now and again I can help some, but
You'd be surprised.
Like you said, it's amazing just the willingness to help each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. Anytime we can do that, you're better off, in my opinion.
Yeah, or get great ideas from seeing each other's streams. I think it's always fun when people share and get cool ideas as to what you can do. It's amazing when you, especially with some of the features, I think it's hard to kind of think through, okay, I know what that does, but like, what can I use that for? But then when you see something, it makes such a huge difference to be able to like, oh yeah, I could do that, or I could put my own spin on that.
Sure, absolutely. But back to the starting of the talk shows, I eventually found Ecamm. I cannot remember how I found Ecamm. I don't know if it was from a Google search or what. But when I found it, I was like, this is awesome. This is cool. And I downloaded the beta, and I could not get it to work. I was watching all the videos on YouTube, and I was reading about it. I was like, this is exactly what I need in my life. This is do everything as you go. This is amazing. But I could not get it to work.
Oh, no.
And I finally reached out to Glenn, and I found out why it would not work, because I had an older Mac computer. It was like a 2011.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And bless his heart, he sent me some kind of, this was early Ecamm Live. He sent me some kind of encrypted thing where it would work, but it could possibly bug. And I was like, that's great, man. Thank you so much. So I ran it, and it worked fine. Every now and again I have an issue, but I was like, whatever, we'll go on. And then I ended up upgrading to a 2014 Mac, and it's been off to the races since then. But there's just so much about Ecamm Live that I want to share with people out there that have no idea that this is even possible. That's my goal, to say, hey, like you said, our shows look like we're in a studio. We're not. We're in my basement.
Yeah,
but we got it looking like a studio. We got lights. We got green screens. We got phenomenal graphics. A friend of mine, Eli Brazil, he helps us out with some graphics. I do some graphics myself. We actually use Canva.
I love Canva.
I use Canva for my graphics. If you guys out there have never used it, check it out. It's amazing. It'll do you well. But one thing I ran into with Canva was I could not figure out how to make my graphics transparent. Like if I wanted to just have an outline of me and get rid of all this behind me, I couldn't figure out how to do it. Well, Google saved me. And that's where lunapic.com comes in handy. You'll have one solid color as your background. With your picture, you go in there, go to edit it, go to transparent background, click on the background, and it makes your background, if it's one solid color, makes it disappear, and there you have your transparent image. And I was like, oh, that's great.
Magic. I love it. Yeah.
It really is.
It is amazing what you can do with some of those free tools, or even ones that are, fairly cost efficient. You don't have to have Photoshop to be able to create, fantastic graphics, for sure.
Absolutely. But the football talk show kind of took off. It started out, I just wanted to talk football with my buddies. We just finished our 4th season.
That's awesome.
We have almost 18,000 followers. At first, it was just going to be us talking, why not? We're going to talk football regardless. Might as well record it.
Love it.
Like I said, it kind of just took off. So we've been running with it. We'll do ticket giveaways. We'll sometimes bring former players into town and do autograph signings with them. It's a lot of fun. It really is.
Yeah, and I encourage everyone, I put the links for both the shows into the description, so definitely click through and check it out, because it's really neat how you have people who are there with you, in your home studio, but then you also are using, I assume, Skype or screen share to be able to pull people in. So it really feels like you have sort of these like correspondents who are off and they're talking about certain aspects of it, and then you guys in the studio. It really, you've managed to pull it off where it really feels like a really high-end television experience, which is awesome to see.
Well, thank you. You just give me an idea for my next show. I'm going to do a weather show where I have people all across the country giving me weather reports, and I'm going to pull them in, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that would definitely be a great idea. There's something
But
super fun about weather for sure.
right? Hey, it's hot here. Hey, it's cold here. Yeah, that sucks. That's great.
David
The Roy.
just shared a comment quickly here. Sorry to interrupt you. David said that
Okay.
Canva actually recently added the ability to remove that background and make those images transparent as well. So if you're in Canva, definitely check that out. I used it the other day.
Let me ask you this
Works
though.
well.
I'm pretty cheap. I hate to admit it, but I'm pretty cheap.
It might
I have
be in the
four.
paid version. It might be.
I have 4 kids, so I have to be cheap. That's what I was going to ask if it was in the paid version or not. But
Yeah,
still,
I don't know for
that's
sure.
cool. That's cool that they have the capabilities now, though.
Yeah, definitely get in there so they know that people like us are trying to get all the background image away from it, just make it transparent so you can see through for sure.
Oh, absolutely. But the way that it started with the bringing people in was on the Royal Ramble, because I would take callers and such on the Mountaineer Ramble, which is the football talk show, but I would just take callers, and that was it. And then when I found Skype on Ecamm Live, I was like, whoa, this is a whole nother ball game right here.
Yeah.
So one of my co-hosts, Brian Resner, that used to do the Royal Ramble with me, moved to Florida. I'm still mad at him for leaving, but I can't blame him. Our weather's not the greatest in the world. Hey, there you go. There's my Florida correspondent right there. But he moved there, and I was like, well, I'll still like to have him on the show. So we decided we were just going to Skype him in every week, and it's worked flawlessly. I mean, we've had a couple issues. I always run the beta because I always want to try all the new gadgets.
Yep.
I've had a couple issues here and there, but nothing that really weighed us down. So the wrestling talk show was kind of the same way. It took off. I didn't mean for it to, but it's all over the country. We even have viewers in England watching the show. It's crazy.
That's great. I know, it's the power of live. It's funny, like all it takes is for a couple people to press that share button and reach some of people on their feed and reach people on their. It is amazing how you can end up with people from all over the world.
It really is.
That's awesome. All right, I think you've answered a bunch of my questions. Let me work my way through. So what are some of the challenges that you face in hosting a regular sports talk show?
Well, one thing I still have not got, I mentioned I was cheap earlier. I still have not got the Stream Deck. And I'm guessing when I do, it will make my life a lot easier, because not only am I the host, I'm also the producer, the editor. Mm-hmm. I'm doing everything over here while the show's going. Yeah. That is one thing that it's getting more comfortable for me the longer it goes on, and I'm able to pull more stuff in. The main thing is getting my guests on the show, getting their information before the show gets there. Yeah. Like for instance, hey, we always do a game ball on the Mountaineer Ramble. If the Mountaineers win the football game, every person on the panel gives each player a game ball. Well, I need to know a day before who you're going to give your game ball to, so I can make the graphic and everything pulled in. That's probably the hardest part, is timing, getting all the ducks in a row. Yeah, that'd be tricky, especially if you sort of have to kind of guess a little bit too. If it's before the game actually is happening and you have to create the graphics, that makes it tricky. We also do a halftime show during the football games. Oh my God! And that. You talk about crazy, because what I have to do as soon as halftime hits, I got to go to a website, find the stats, pull the stats off for me to have a physical copy on my desk. We have a printer here in studio. We print the stats off, have them on our desk, and then we pull it into Ecamm as well, so the fans and the audience can see the stats as well. Now, mind you, halftime's usually about 15, 20 minutes. So I got about a 3 to 5 minute window to get all this done. So at halftime, I'm running down the stairs. Kids are like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, nothing, we're good. Get out of the way. Sit down, shut up, we'll be back in a minute. But it's fun, it really is. That's awesome. And just imagining you running all around trying to get everything. Oh man. So let's talk through some of the features you use. What are some of your favorite Ecamm Live features? What are some that you just can't live without now that you've tried them and incorporated them in? There's so many, it's hard to pinpoint one favorite. I'll tell you a few that I do love. Sure. One is virtual cam. That's what makes this possible. If it was not for virtual cam, you'd just see my green screen back here and it'd just be a plain little interview, but I was able to make it look all fancy because of virtual cam. So I got my studio backdrop. I
Hmm.
really love being able to pull people's comments onto the screen. That is
Yeah.
very cool because I don't care what anybody says. People love their self, and if
People
they
love
see their name on the
themselves.
screen, they're like, "Oh, look, it's me! They're
Yeah.
talking about me right now."
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, I always laugh at like
You know,
how cute that is, but I totally feel the same way when someone shares any of them. I'm like, yay, I'm
right,
live, I'm on screen.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm the same way. I can't argue with it at all. I like a couple things that has been added in the last 6 months or so that I really, really love. Is the ability to play a video on top of this with audio.
Hmm.
Before you could play the video, but there was no audio. But they've recently put in the audio there, so you could play the video. So now I could play a highlight video from a match or from a football game,
Hmm.
and we can commentate over top of it, where the fans will still get the audio from the game
Yeah.
or the match, and then we can talk over top of it. There were workarounds before where you could start another scene and do all this and that, but Ecamm, you guys have made it really easy to incorporate that in there. And that's one of my favorite things. Also, is how uh, how diligent you guys are about adding features that your users would like to have. That is very cool. There's been 3 or 4 things I've suggested in the last couple of years since I've been using it that's eventually been plugged in. I'm like, oh, hey, I was talking about that 6 months ago. This is great. And
Yeah,
that's
definitely. I mean, one of the, I think the best parts of the community is that, you guys are actively using the tool and you're figuring out what's working or what might work better or what you didn't
we are
think you
your
need.
we are
Yeah,
we're your crash test dummies. We really
exactly.
are. We'll
Exactly.
run straight to the wall for you. We don't care.
Yeah, I always laugh that John Eric always says that he pushes all the buttons, and now I just always hear that in the back of my head. I'm like, all right, what can I play with and figure out how it works better? And
I want to figure that guy out. I was watching his live feed. He's got like thousands and thousands of people watching. I'm like, what is this guy doing?
he
He's got
pu-
to figure it out.
he pushes all the buttons. He plays with
He,
all kinds of stuff. That's for sure. I'm constantly learning from him. So shout out to John Eric if you're watching. It's always fun. It's
absolutely.
always fun to check it out. I tonight did one of our newer features, a little one, but one worth checking out. Is we have an intro video, and now you can select for it to just go right into the next scene automatically, which used to just stress me out. I was like, all right, when do we move from the intro video, and then I got to click over into the next scene, and now it just went automatically. So a small thing, but it definitely made a big difference. So hopefully you guys are enjoying that one as well.
It's the little wins that add up. And
It's definitely the little wins. Well, I know that before we jumped on live, you said that you had a couple of different pieces of favorite gear and equipment that you wanted to share. So I'm going to switch over to just you so that you can walk through some
that's
of
fine.
what your favorite tools are. What are some of the things that really kind of help power your broadcast outside of Ecamm Live?
Well, one of the things that I want to say out there to people watching is shooting live video does not have to be expensive. You do not have to break the bank doing it. I mentioned 3 or 4 times how cheap I am already, but that's true. But you do not have to break the bank to do what you want to do. I'm going to show you guys a couple of the things that I use here at the Flock of Birds production studio. That's what I call it. I'll tell you why I come with Flock of Birds. Um, do you know, Katie, what the definition of a covey is, which is my last name?
I'm going to guess a flock of birds.
Hey, nice job.
Yes!
Good job. But that's kind of where the name come from. But
That's
anyway,
awesome.
I digress. Let me get back on task here. I seen a squirrel. I had to run off. The camera that I'm currently using, which I will eventually get to a DSLR camera, but as you guys can see watching right now, the camera that I'm using is efficient. It works fine. It's a Logitech C920.
Yep. Yep, that's one of the ones we always
top.
recommend for people just starting out or people that don't want to spend a ton. It works great. Video quality is awesome.
Yeah, you can't beat them for the price. I mean, it's always been my go-to, So, if it's working for me, it'll work for you, I promise. And the microphones that I'm using is the Natty's 900s. You can get these new for about $75 a piece. You don't have to get these. You can get some other form of audio. You could use the microphone from a iPhone headphones.
Yep.
That works fine. But that's just what I use. Here's where it gets a little tricky. This is what I use to plug in all of my microphones. I usually have at least 4, sometimes 5 or 6 microphones in the studio at one time, and I'll plug them into my Mac keyboard. The reason I use this is because I want to have more, and I want to have control over each microphone, because a lot of the times you'll have one guy on a microphone, he talks real quiet like this right here, so you have to adjust him to get him right. And then you got one guy over here, he likes to talk real loud, so you got to be able to adjust him too. So that's why I like to use this. It's not necessary if you're just doing a one-man or two-man show. You can skip this and go straight to the Audiogram 6. This is what I use, Yamaha Audiogram 6. I don't know if they're still making them. I know you can still get them. This is a interface for your computer. I take the Mackie and run it into the Audiogram, and then the Audiogram goes into my computer.
Wow. And
that's where my audio comes from. It goes from the Mackie to here. So it's kind of a daisy chain, so to speak.
Yeah.
But it'll give you a lot more control over what you want to do. And I mentioned earlier Canva. That's where I do all my graphics at. And then I go to Lunapic, which you don't have to now, apparently. With Canva, they have the option now. But that's what I've always done. I'll do a lot of editing on my phone, Katie. I found a couple of apps on my phone where I've actually gotten pretty good at erasing backgrounds with my thumb. Just nice and easy. Just nice and easy. But it's crazy the capabilities of technology. There's so much out there that, like I said, with the Ecamm Live, and not only just Ecamm Live, but live streaming in general, people don't realize how easy it can be. It does not have to be a huge headache at all.
Yeah, definitely. Tonight I'm super low tech. I'm literally just using my MacBook Air and built-in camera and built-in sound coming through my headphones. So
sounds good over here.
Yeah, so you really don't need much to get started. If you want to take it kind of beyond just using a smartphone, or you just want to jump right in and be able to do things like add your logo or add these fun-filled titles that we designed in Canva down here. It's as easy as getting started with a computer and some awesome software, and you'll be up and running.
You don't even have to use Canva if you don't want to. I didn't even mention that, but I'm sure most people watching already know. There's a setting here where you can go and put your own text from Ecamm Live into your broadcast. It's getting better all the time. I mean, you guys really have to get this and check it out. It's a lot of fun. It really is. I find myself, if I'm not careful, I'll find myself in the wee hours of the night tinkering around, trying this and trying that. Like something else, something I started last week on the show, on the Royal Ramble, was I wanted each individual on the panel to have their own close-up shot. So I got different settings. I got different scenes inside of Ecamm. Like John Covey Cole shots right here. And then I got another shot over here for this guy where it's a close-up of his head. And it caught my guys off guard. They didn't know I was going to do it. And they was like, oh, because I got a big flat screen TV behind my setup here. So everybody in the studio can see
so they can
what's
watch the
going
feed.
on.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right. I had to do that because everybody was wanting to watch my computer like this the whole time and see what was going on. So I was like, well, I can't do that. So I'll just put them something back here to watch. So it worked.
That's awesome. And we were talking before too, about the fact that your show, you have an overlay that has a phone number on it so people can just call in and ask questions. Why don't you share some of your hack for doing that for people who are on the fence about taking phone calls? How do you do it?
Well, all you got to do is take your phone. It don't have to be an iPhone, but I'm guessing if you're a Mac guy, you're probably an iPhone guy as well. Take your phone, get you a microphone. I got this is a cheap microphone. I probably paid $40 for it about 10 years ago. And I got it sitting on my desk here, and I put my phone number on the screen, and somebody calls in. I hit speakerphone, and then I go over here, and I click on the microphone, so it's got audio to it, and ta-da, live phone caller on the air. It's that simple.
Awesome. How many phone calls? How many people take you up on that? How many people call in, roughly?
Well, it depends. I honestly thought it was going to be a lot more because, like I alluded to earlier, people like theirself and they like to talk and they like to in the wrestling business, they call it putting themselves over. But it varies. Sometimes we'll have 2 or 3 callers a show. Sometimes we'll have 6 or 8. Sometimes we won't have any. It just all depends.
Yeah.
It really does. It varies.
That's awesome. I love it. I love how like old school and new school it is. You have live video, you have comments coming on screen, and you still have people who are just calling in and sharing their thoughts and opinions. I'm sure it works really well too for us for sports, because people are heated and they have, I'm sure, lots of things to say.
Oh yeah, they got a lot to say for sure.
Awesome.
What's really fun is sometimes I will disagree with the popular opinion just to get the audience riled up. It's a lot of fun.
I love
because
it.
I was you mentioned I was a comedian. I'm a comedian, borderline beginner actor, I guess you could say.
Awesome.
But I've always improv everything that I do. That's why I fell in love with live video, because I didn't like doing the whole post editing and all that. I'd rather do it right now. I'm just waiting for the first one that I have on the show that says some stuff that they shouldn't say, and somebody go to watch the show the next day, like, hey man, I didn't get to catch the show last night. I didn't see it on your page there. Where's it at? Kind of had to delete it, man. Had a situation.
Well, when you eventually get your Stream Deck, you can build in one of those like buttons so you can press over them or mute them really quick if you think it's coming. You can do live.
That's another feature that I use a lot. I'll have everybody in the studio, and then what I like about it is if I mute this microphone in Ecamm, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can hear me, but the audience, like if I was running right now on Ecamm Live, they could not hear me.
Yeah.
So I'll catch the guys off guard sometime, and I'll hit mute real quick, and I'll say something like we got 5 seconds left. Yeah. And sometimes I gotta reel them in that way. Sometimes I'll be like, all right, guys, you're talking too long, and I'll get real close to the microphone so the audience don't know I'm talking. I'll get real close, so you got 5 minutes, wrap it up, And they're like, oh. I remember the first time I did that, they was like, I can't believe you did that on the air. I was like, I didn't do that on the air. Watch it back, old buddy.
I love it. I love it. All right, so I know we have people watching. If anyone has any questions for John, you're welcome to put them there in the comments. So we're happy to ask them live on air. I did trick John into doing a song. If you're still up for it, John, we'd be thrilled for you to play us something.
Yeah, I'll play you a little ditty. I don't play a whole lot anymore. Honestly, live video and streaming has taken most of my free time.
Love it.
But I mentioned the Acoustic Sessions was the first John Covey Cole Ramble network. I didn't put over the Ramble network. I got to show y'all that graphic real quick.
Oh yeah,
that's what we call everything that we do. The Ramble network. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, search Google search Ramble network. You can find us. We have multiple talk shows, and we're going to be adding more. I've actually had some that have come and gone. We had a show. I can't remember right off what it was called. It's been about a year and a half ago. But we had a show where a friend of mine, he would review different vapes and different juices for the vapes.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. But yeah, check out the Ecamm Live, guys.
Definitely. We have a question coming in. One sec. Eli asks, how is the dual video feed coming in? That's a great question, Eli. We're using Skype right now. So John is just coming in as a camera source, basically, through Skype. So we're able to be in different places, but both live together as if we're in the same spot. And then we're both using Ecamm Live Virtual Cam as well. So that's how John's able to see the feed, even though he's not watching the live. And that's how John's able to also put his background on as well. So great question. Definitely worth checking out. And if you want to learn a little bit more about how to use Skype and how to bring on guests, we do have a tutorial video that Adrian did up on our site. So I'll drop that into the comments afterwards. But certainly something you can check out to figure out how to do it yourself.
It's easy, guys. It really is. I mean, it's so easy.
All right, John's going to play us out.
Before I play my song, that way I can make sure I get it in, guys. If you're a wrestling fan, tune in Thursday.
Woo-hoo.
We're going to be talking about what was the biggest missed opportunity with a wrestler or storyline in the last decade. We have a new topic every week, so just come check us out. It's a lot of fun.
Awesome. Thanks,
But
John.
anyway, I'm gonna do an old Marshall Tucker song for you guys. Hope you enjoy it. Gonna take a freight train down at the station, Lord. I don't care where it goes. Gonna climb a mountain, the highest mountain. Jump off, nobody gonna know. Can't you see? Oh, can't you see what that woman's been doing to me? I'm gonna find me a hole in the wall, yeah. Gonna crawl inside and die. It's my little lady now, and me don't want the Lord. Well, she never told me goodbye. Can't you see? Oh, can't you see what that woman she's been doing to me? Can't you see? Oh, can't you see what that woman she's been doing to me? Buy me a ticket now, as far as I can. I ain't never coming back. I'll ride me southbound all the way to Georgia now, until the train running out of track, out of track. Can't you see? Oh, can't you see what that woman she's been doing to me? Oh, can't you see? Oh, can't you see what that woman she's been doing to me? Oh, can't you see? Can't you see what Ecamm Live has been doing for me? All right, guys, thank you very much.
Oh my gosh, John, that is amazing. You need to come every single week and sing us a song. Thank you so much for taking the time, and thanks to everyone who's watching and catching us later in replay. We really appreciate it. Huge thanks, John. Thanks so much for tuning in.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I had a good time.
Awesome. All right. If anyone is still watching, we'll be back next week at our regular time, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific time. We're going to be doing a live interview with Kathy Hester. She's a vegan cookbook author, and she does a ton with live video and cooking demonstrations, so it should be a lot of fun. Hope to see you all later. Thanks so much.